Whether you're just getting started with a new show or already have an existing podcast, having a great looking website where your listeners can engage with you and your brand is an absolute must in developing the brand for your show. In this video, we're going to walk through 11 things that your podcast website must have to engage and convert well with your listeners to further your business goals. Let's dive in. Hey there, Craig Hewitt here from Castos. Welcome back to the channel. I'm excited to talk about this topic because it really is the crux of a lot of what we're doing as podcasters, right? The kind of journey that we imagine in podcasters is someone hears about your show. That's social media, word of mouth, something like Reddit. They hear about your show, but they haven't listened yet. They come and they check out your show in that middle tier, and that can be audio or on YouTube, right? Because these days, all of us, right? All of us, repeat after me, all of us are putting our podcasts on YouTube. So they learn more about you, they check out your content, and they engage with you in a really kind of high fidelity, long format kind of way. And then the thing we want them all to do is come to our website and take that next natural action with us, right? These are the 5 growth drivers of a successful media brand: social media, podcast, YouTube, website, and email, right? You have to have these 5 things if you want to grow a really successful, comprehensive, sustainable, profitable brand these days. It doesn't matter if you're selling widgets, if you're selling information or courses, or if you're a software company like us. These are the 5 growth drivers that you need to master. Even if this is just a hobby, this is where you'll get eventually. So you might as well begin with the end in mind. And in this video, we're going to walk through the 11 things that your podcast must have because it's that end of the journey. It's that very last thing that you want customers to do, from going from an awareness to an engagement to really developing a relationship with you. Let's dive into the 11 things you want your podcast website to have to engage and convert with your audience well. First one is, it's got to be beautiful. Take a look at the Castos website. Take a look at a bunch of your favorite websites out there. They just look really good, right? It's not some $10 template you got off of Theme Forest. It's a really great looking template. It's a really good theme. You can use website builders like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress. You can use the built-in website you get with your Castos hosting account, but it needs to look really good. The first impression is so important with a website. Someone clicks through from their podcasting app or from their YouTube channel to your website. They need to be wowed with what they see. So if you don't have a great eye for design, find a designer. Go on somewhere like Dribbble to find a designer to help you out. But this is just money very well spent. I neglected this for a long time with our brand, and it pays such dividends over time to have a great looking website. These days, more than ever, the aesthetic of your brand and your podcast is so important because, for better or worse, people make judgments based on what they see very quickly. Number 2 is create an individual page for each episode of your podcast. So please do not put a single page on your site with a big playlist player that lists every episode of your podcast, right? This is bad on so many levels. 1, it's difficult to display show notes and transcripts. 2, it's bad for SEO. 3, it just doesn't provide a great linking and interlinking opportunity for you if you put on your SEO, your search engine optimization hat. So create a separate page or post, whatever you want to call it, for each episode on your website so that people going to your website can go to a single URL just for that episode. Embed the player, embed the YouTube video there. These are all best practices. Number 3, just mentioned it, but embed media players on the individual episode pages or posts for each episode that you have. If you're doing video, like we just said that we all should be, embed the media player for the podcast at the top and the YouTube video somewhere in the middle. This is what we like to do because people are scrolling and they see the video. Oh, hey, I'm going to watch this video. It lets them stay on the page longer, sends really great signals to Google that, hey, this episode or this post or this website must be really good because people are staying here a really long time. Number 4 is include plenty of links. Even if you don't have a big SEO background, just break it down really easy. Those are both internal to other page or posts on your site, or externally to other resources. Both of these are really big signals to Google that, hey, this person must know what they're talking about because they're linking to a bunch of different people. And if you do that over time, all the other posts will link back to yours. There's a really cool WordPress plugin for this called Link Whisper. It's a really great tool for you to be able to automate and add in internal links so you can begin networking internally in your site to link between episodes and posts. But add links for each episode, both internally and out to resources that you mentioned, people's social media handles, things like that during each episode. We've touched on the concept of SEO a few times, search engine optimization. It's just massive, right? It's the way that people find your content organically, and people come through channels like Google and Bing and even AI in the future to answer their questions, right? That's the whole thing with, podcasting is a content medium to help people achieve the things they want and telling a story along the way. And the beautiful thing about having a good website for your podcast is it takes that audio and video content, puts it in text format, especially if you're putting transcripts on your site, so that search engines like Google can better understand what you're talking about and index your content. So SEO optimize your podcast website as a whole and each individual page or post on the site so that Google and other search engines and AI can understand better what you're talking about. Number 6, on the homepage of the site, there should be kind of a header section that talks about the podcast as a whole. And below that should be a list of every episode. This could be a list, it could be a grid, could be kind of however you want to design it. If you look at the Castos website templates, we cover a couple of different options here. But basically, you want a place for people to go and be able to look at all of your episodes and pick the one they want to engage with next, right? So if they're just coming to mywebsite.com, they might say, I don't really know what I want to check out here. Oh, this one looks interesting. I'm going to click there, go to that page, and then listen to that episode. And so on the homepage, pretty high up, you want a list of all of the episodes. Going back to the homepage, at the very top, you want a little bit about you as the host. Podcasting is an intimate storytelling medium, intimate in that you're literally in someone's ear for an hour every week, and they get to know you. And if people don't know you yet, they want to get to know you. And the best way to do that is put your picture up, put a bio, tell what you and the podcast are all about so that people can begin to know, like, and trust you. So this should absolutely go in what's called the hero section, the very top of the website. Because it's the first question that people have. They go to a website and they're like, what's this all about? Answer that question by giving them who you are and what your podcast is all about. Number 8 is include social sharing links. This is both a way for people to share your podcast on social media and links to follow you on social media. So I believe this should be in the header or the footer of every page on your site. It should be something that's static so people always know where it is. Number 9 is absolutely enormous. Some people might get to your podcast website first without listening to the show, and so you need a way for them to subscribe to your podcast. If you go to our podcast website, such as audiencepodcast.fm for our audience podcast, you'll see a subscribe bar right there below the hero section we talked about and just above the episode list. All of our podcast templates have this format because after they get to know who you are and what the podcast is all about, the next thing that we want to do is for folks to subscribe. And so we put subscribe links to all of the places where our podcast is live: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, YouTube, all these places. And so people can say, instead of, the only is a link for Spotify, or there's only a link for Apple Podcasts, there should be a link to every possible place that someone could subscribe to your podcast because everybody listens in slightly different places. Sure, Apple Podcasts and Spotify are 70% of it probably, but you don't want to exclude those people who might listen on a kind of more obscure place. Your podcast should be in all of those 28 directories. And we have a really great blog post talking about the 28 places your podcast should be live. And you should have all of those links on your podcast website in that subscribe bar. Number 10 is have a place that talks about you and your podcast for potential sponsors, right? So we talked about the hero section should be a brief little blurb about you, but you also should absolutely have an about me page. And if you're going to offer sponsors, you should have a sponsors page. You're going to get this question a bunch from sponsors. Hey, can you send me a media packet? Hey, can you tell me more about my show and the audience and who it's for and monthly downloads, things like that? Just save yourself a bunch of trouble and have that on the site. So you say, sure, just go to this link. And number 11 is have a way for people to contact you. This could be just a contact form. This could be an email address. You pick the way that you want your audience to engage with you. But 100%, when I get emails from my podcast listeners, they're the first ones I open every morning when I open my phone. I look at it, I read it, and 100% of the time I reply because podcasting is such an amazing medium. But a lot of times it's us talking and them listening. And when folks pick up their phone or get on their computer and send us an email, because I put the email address in the outro of every episode I listen to, it gives us a chance to engage with folks, right? Because otherwise we're talking and folks are listening. But when you put an email address out there, you have it on your website and people get in touch with you, I think it's my responsibility to say, hey, thank you for taking the time to reach out and tell me what you think about our podcast. I'd love to continue this conversation and really get into like, hey, why did you reach out? What are you struggling with? How can I help? What do you think of the show? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of? Please give me some feedback, because I think as creators, a lot of times we're just in a vacuum, right? We're creating, we see some analytics, but we really don't know what people like and they don't like until they pick up the phone or the email in this case and send us some feedback. And so when folks do, please reply and engage and start a discussion with them. They'll become lifelong fans and you will get really valuable insights into what people want more of. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this 11 key components of a podcast website. If you enjoyed the channel, please like, subscribe, smash the bell. Leave a comment below with anything that you believe a great podcast website should have, or great examples of podcast websites so we can all learn together. See you next time.